Hi, everyone, and welcome back to season 4 of Stand Up and Stand Out. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the Nikki Green, and we are mixing things up this season. With my new book, Chameleon Mindset, launching, I want to share more of the book's concepts with all of you. I have also been blessed to expand my network throughout the podcast community and to other inspirational speakers. I want to bring more guests on to discuss these important topics together, so we're going to mix it up, no more interview format, and we're going to have some fun. So next up, we're going to do a few fun episodes. Hope you enjoy them. And don't forget to give us a like, a follow on your favorite podcast platform. Hello and happy Friday or morning or afternoon or day or weekend, whatever it might be when you're listening to this show. Welcome back to season 4 of Stand Up and Stand Out. I'm your host, Nikki Green. On today's show, we have my wonderful friend, Parchelle Tashi, the founder and CEO of The Author's Leverage. If you missed it, I was on The Author's Leverage podcast, and we'll add the link to the show notes so you can catch that wonderful episode. There we talked about in the future, we are all entrepreneurs. And it was a great episode, had so much fun. But today, Parchelle and I are going to talk about growth mindset. Parchelle, why don't you say hi to everybody and tell a little bit about yourself?
Hey. Thanks, Nikki, for having me. I love just hanging out with Nikki. Anybody knows Nikki, she's an amazing person, and you always are going to leave with a smile and just feeling better about yourself, period. So thanks, Nikki, for having me, and let me spend some more time. I'm Parchelle. As she said, I'm a former school teacher, and I turned entrepreneur where I was doing video production and literally grew this company to the point where I was frustrated and burnt out. But really, and this happened during the pandemic when I realized, wow, like, what is it that I really want to do? What's my highest contribution to other people? And I found that through my experience in education, along with my media production and marketing skills, that I could really support other teachers. And so that's what I love that we get to do, is supporting other teachers and making a bigger impact with their books in particular, and also more income through what I call VREs, valuable repurposed experiences, on the back end of their book that are going to essentially extend them further than they ever anticipated. So that's what we do. I'm super excited and glad to talk about growth mindset today. It's one of my favorite topics.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I'm so excited because we're working together to convert my new book, Chameleon Mindset, into an online course and really interactive experience for people. And I think we're having a blast. So I can't wait to share that with everybody as well. I love what you do because more and more I've been encountering a lot of teachers. You know, originally I started working with a lot of students as they were trying to get into the workforce. But what I'm finding is just the amount of burnout and the challenges that a lot of teachers are having following the pandemic. And just we weren't giving them the skills, you know, and the tools that they needed to effectively teach remotely. And now they're sort of, are we hybrid? Are we in? Are we out? And nobody's quite sure. But so many other people have pivoted their careers to actually become teachers, right? They had a corporate career or something. Now they've written a book and they want to go out. I love this because I feel like this is the ultimate growth mindset that you do every day, helping people really take their knowledge to the next level. So tell me a little bit about your experience, like as a teacher, and where you feel like growth mindset was working well in schools, and then maybe how it's maybe even better now after the pandemic.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think that when I think about that growth mindset, especially as a teacher, you know, it's interesting to say, I don't know if I had as much of a growth mindset when I was teaching. I just was showing up to do the job and make sure the kids, you know, pass their tests and all that stuff. But essentially, you know, what's so amazing about as teachers, you know, we get to inspire growth in other people through the growth within ourselves. Like, I can never see one without the other. You know, it is just about growth of other people. It's like, no, it's going to be a direct reflection of your growth and your path as well. And one of my mentors, Chris Doe, one of the things that he's taught me is that the highest form of learning is actually teaching. So when we're thinking about growing and sharing what it is that we know, you're really, you know, you're taking on the highest form of learning of your subject matter expertise. And the more you do that in teaching it, you know, it's actually a mastery level of that subject matter. And so when it came to whether it was teaching math, which I taught math, yes, that growth mindset, and having that perspective. I mean, it really pushed me in some ways to, probably unconsciously, I wasn't thinking about it like that at the time, but just knowing that it is something within myself that I want to, tap into so that I can share it with my students. And in particular, I taught high school as well. So high school is such a special age for me, I think, too, because I knew what it was like to be a high school student, and that was probably one of my most difficult times in my life, outside of divorce and other things, but it's just a hard time. And so I really found that as a teacher, making that connection with them and knowing where they're coming from allowed me to build rapport a lot faster. So they listen to me, they'll do their work, they'll, show up as best as they can. And I really think that, again, just that place of genuinely wanting to help and knowing from yourself that personal journey that you've experienced, that you can extend that to other people and make make it so we're all growing. And I love that, right? The people are going to learn, and then you as the communicator are going to learn and grow as well, because that's just a mastery level of learning.
That's amazing. And it makes me think of lots of different times throughout my life when this has happened. Because we're taught in school, and this is, I think, where the challenge is, okay, well, you're going to start at 100%, and everything you miss and everything you fail at, you get less and less, right? It's not very motivating sometimes. Whereas with the growth mindset, we want to teach people it's okay to fail. It's okay to try things, and it's okay to continually be tested. By testing, you're actually going to do better and better and better. And I actually think of this a lot in some of my athletic time. I mean, I'm not super tall. I'm 5'3", right? But I played volleyball, and I was determined to play volleyball because I was inspired by my uncle, who, was 6'1".
Wow.
I didn't let shorts stop me. I just said, no, I really like playing sports. I like this. And I'm going to do it the best that I can. And I'm going to figure out how to use my talents here. But then later on, when I started coaching, I saw volleyball from a whole new lens. And I really had to make sure I understood more deeply some of the topics, because you get bombarded with 100 questions, 100 little tiny tests from everybody that you're coaching. And whether that's, sports, or whether that's something, in your career that you're coaching people on, I think it's the same thing. It really makes you, like you said, a master of what you know, because you're getting tested constantly to try to find the right answer, right? So
Absolutely. And it's a different perspective, right? Because I played basketball, and then when I was teaching school, I coached girls basketball at a few different schools. And you're right. Like I remember playing on the court, and then I remember coaching on the court. It's very, very different. Those experiences and that perspective. Even someone who's in the stands has a very different perspective than the player on the court, and then the coach on the court. I mean, all those different perspectives really do matter, and makes for, I think, what it takes to really grow. You need different perspectives, and being able to just see things from different places, just so interesting. Like I remember coaching these girls, and just seeing it from such a different perspective from when I was on the court. But it just really makes for, again, just a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Well, and right now there's a lot of people that have left their jobs and they're going into coaching. They're going into helping others. And one of my theories on that is because when I was a manager, I never got to actually help people. That was not a part of my priority of my job. It was not how I got evaluated, which is sad to say, and is why we have so many bad managers. The managers are still evaluated based on performance and achieving more KPIs within the business than developing the talent. And I think people miss that. And I know you get to work with lots of great people that are going into this coaching space. So maybe talk about how you're seeing like this evolution of coaching be a sustainable thing that we continue to actually let flourish and have people get the development they need in their careers.
Yeah, I love that. And in particular, we help authors, that have a book. And with that foundation, it really creates the opportunity for you as the author, as the teacher, to create the conditions for them to be successful with your book. And you can be creative with that and do it in a number of different ways. But I'm just really saying, to your point about the coaching space and how that's evolving, it really is something that, where connection is really important. How you show up online is important. the community aspect as well is so important. And then those conditions, as I mentioned, how can we make it seamless and fun and enjoyable to be in action? And that's where I think that you have to be really creative with that. So I love what we're doing with your project in terms of the journal piece, because it's not just a separate journal where you're just going to write. They're going to be, avenues and places where you can engage with actually seeing Nikki demonstrate one of these exercises, or hearing her thoughts as you're journaling. I mean, I think that with that coaching space, I mean, it's really powerful just to see that we're able to support each other and move faster when it comes to getting those results. So somebody who's going to sit and journal and then be able to pull up a video of you actually showing, yep, this is what it looks like, or this is how, that's going to take somebody leaps and bounds, and really, again, create those conditions for them to be successful in what it means to be in action with these things. With the coaching space as well, what I love about it is that it's creating the opportunity for people to actually do what they're learning. Because, we're in information overload. I feel like sometimes, God, when I get on YouTube, I'm just like, okay, I need to focus and make sure I'm not gonna just go down a rabbit hole of just random information. But because otherwise it's unused. And, I feel like, over time, it's almost like someone who's obese with information. You've got all this stuff coming in and nothing is, you're not generating any activity with what you learned. And so what I love about coaching and how that's evolving is it's creating these creative experiences where you're going to be able to have the information and have a focused path that you can take that's going to get you the specific end result that you're looking for, as opposed to, I just learned, I just watched a video, read this book, right? And I'm still where I'm at. So this is really creating a need, or the need is just being exposed, I think, because one of the principles that I teach is that people will pay for implementation. So that's the other thing too, right? And that's why coaching is so popular now, because it's hard to do these things on your own. In the areas of wealth, health, relationships, career management, all those things, it's hard to do on your own now. Otherwise, we'd be doing it. There's information everywhere. So those that are shifting into coaching, you're really supporting, I feel like, just, again, that growth mindset in other people, as well as in yourself. Because it also takes, nobody talks about that sometimes too. It's like, it takes labor and focus and energy to be the teacher also. But nevertheless, there's growth all around.
That's beautiful. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back to talk more with Parchelle about growth mindset. Hi everyone, Nikki Green here, and I am here to tell you that Chameleon Mindset is on its way. If you'd like to learn more about the Chameleon Mindset book, the online course that'll help keep you motivated and doing some of the fun Karate Kid exercises, go to chameleonmindsetbook.com and you'll find more information about pre-sales, bonuses, and so much more. And we're back. So one of the things that I think is really important, and I allude to this in my new book, Chameleon Mindset, is about the importance, and Parchelle was talking about this. Right now, there's an overload of information. And so sometimes people are like, oh, why would you pay for an online course? I can just go watch it on YouTube. But if courses are designed well, the important thing is that it's not just video after video after video, that there is actually an actionable step that you're going through to participate. And there has to be some positive peer pressure in here where you're creating the community and you see not only that other people may be doing well at that activity, but maybe they're being vulnerable and struggling with it and asking for help. And so those two things combined are where I think school and education in general are going. And so it's an important aspect, and you're helping me significantly with this. But maybe talk a little bit about, kind of what you're seeing here and how you think it's going to help the students of these different courses.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that, action is important, right? So in order to really solidify what it is that you're learning, you got to do something with it. I don't care what anybody says, you have to do something with it. And then even when it comes to doing something with it, you brought up community. And that's where, I think of I call it the A's, the action and the accountability. You need to be accountable also to those actions. Because just as easy as it is to watch something and then forget about it, it's also easy to say, I'm going to do something. And then if there's no peer support to ensure and see how did it go, like what did you find, what did you learn, and give you that opportunity to reflect, it also, can, lessen the learning as well. One of the things that's so important when it comes to online courses is completion rates. So I think right now the completion rates on average are between like 5 and 7%, if not lower, on a course. And so to me, that also speaks to the design of how that learning was created, and how you can ensure that they are excited and, wanting to come back to the course to actually complete it. So again, that's where, depending on the audience, depending on the subject matter, what it is that result is for them, that we can construct a path that's going to get them to that result, but then also just, again, make sure that they're covered when it comes to being actionable and being accountable to those things. So also learning management systems also come into play with that too. So we're excited for yours to be on Experientify, because that's a way that we can actually gamify this experience. So that's a new way to, again, just ensure that completion rate of your course is going to be high, and that you have happy and excited action-taking students behind your work. And so all those things really come together and really, really matter, I feel like, when it comes to the courses, right? We want them to be actionable. We want there to be accountability and some awards, something to incentivize them for actually having done it. So all those things to me just open up a big playground of ideas. It's almost like going into the classroom and say, okay, how can I make this exciting? How can I make this fun? And really for any subject matter. So I'm really excited, and I love doing that. But essentially, those are the pieces that I think are so important when it comes to courses and coaching down the road. It's like you really want to make sure that you're giving people what they pay for and helping them get those results as well as possible.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember being little, and video games were kind of coming out, and like the Nintendo was really big, right? And at first it was like, video games are going to rot your brain, right? And they're terrible, and it's more screen time, and, want, like all this negative energy. And now you are really starting to understand and see the research behind it. And it actually is helping to create a growth mindset. When you go into a video game, you start with nothing. You don't have any equipment. You don't have any knowledge. Sometimes you get like a little tiny square of the map. You don't know where you're going or really what you have to do. Now, you can cheat and buy the journal and figure out some of the decoder rings, but this is how education is evolving as well in many ways. And so it really starts to teach you like, oh, it's okay, that I fell off this cliff into the ditch. I'm going to get another life, and I'm going to keep on leveling up. And it's what, we're trying to do with this course to really start to change the way people think about this stuff. I've taken plenty of them. I've been a course junkie like many people where, oh no, this is going to be great. It's going to change my life, and I'm totally going to understand how to do XYZ for my business or my fitness or whatever the thing was. And not even, 2 or 3 weeks in, I'm like, man, this is boring. I don't want to sit in front of a screen any longer and watch a video. The incentive just goes so quickly. And so I'm really excited. I think this is an important part of growth mindset of really, gamifying these experiences, keeping that video part short and the interaction and action part, very the longer part of the interaction.
Absolutely. And, I was a course junkie too. I mean, going from teaching school to jumping into entrepreneurship, it was only the courses that I took action on that actually got me, further along. But another thing too, when it comes to creating these experiences online is, again, you can be creative. So to your point, a lot of people, it's difficult to actually sit and watch a video. And so we're excited in the new year also just to play around with some other options to where there's an audio only option to be able to listen to a course. So that way you can still be out and about and, be able to take the information. And then once you sit down to actually do the work or do whatever's needed, right, you have the appropriate tools and you can sign on to get that stuff, but you can still get the learning in different ways, right? So, of course, different learning styles come into play there, different ways that we can engage and ensure that they're going to get the information and then, of course, still be supported in taking action.
Yeah, I love that too because I know some courses like, oh, here's an 18-page PDF download, and then let me sit there and like, again, on the computer and doing a lot of stuff. And digital's great, and there's different modes, but I just really feel like having exercises where you really just go back out into the world again. Like we had so much time where we were locked inside. This can't be the way of things. And I can feel the difference. I worked remote long before the pandemic, and I sat in my house and I was bored to tears. And then I found triathlon, and so then I was never sitting still. But these are the things we got to figure out, right? Is how to balance the learning with the activity and really get people excited to go try new things, not just like sit here and like, oh, that sounds neat, but really actually go take the action. So I love that. Well, Parchelle, what other exciting things are you guys up to in the new year, and anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, well, I'm excited. At the top of the year, I'll be a year older, so that's exciting. Um, Outside of that, in terms of the business, we're really excited to launch book revenue streams for authors. So this is a kind of evolution of our offer to where, yes, we're helping to still set up and create those learning experiences, but then also putting them within a system that allows you to sell more books and sell more products. So Nikki, I'll tell you more about that. But it's really, really exciting because it's just one of the challenges across the board with a lot of educators and coaches is you have a great product, but how do we keep the conversation going first and foremost? And then how do we ensure that there's a customer journey that supports them, people being in action, but then also for the author, for the entrepreneur, for that business person, a way to also see additional income through a seamless experience. So we're excited for that. So that's a new development that's coming in the new year that we're excited about. And towards the end of the year, we're also going to be hosting a summit virtually for all things around how authors, especially nonfiction authors, can essentially get more bang for their book. That's the that's the premise there. How can we get more bang for your book and really explore a lot of opportunities to help you monetize it, right? And spread that message further and a lot of other repurpose experiences.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I was having this discussion with someone recently because, they were like, oh, everybody has a book now, and, some of them aren't that great, or, because self-publishing, it makes it accessible for everyone. Cool, but we're not all great at publishing. Hey, I did the first one totally by myself, and I made a lot of mistakes because, that's what you can do. But the beauty is I can revise and just push it right back out once I learn more. It's not a permanent thing, even though obviously it's, physical book or digital book. But I think this is going to be the evolution too as we go. Self-publishing has opened up this huge world, hybrid publishing, where you have some support behind the scenes. But I think it's important for us to get back to our roots and to continue to tell our stories, because our stories are the way that we connect with each other. And now we can do it on such a bigger scale. Before, we sat around a campfire, right? And we shared stories from the older generation to the younger to teach them lessons. Now you can share that in so many mediums. A book is just one, video is another, hopefully audio and some other things soon. So I'm excited. One of the great quotes I heard recently too that I really like is that we are the ancestors of the next generation. And so it's important for us to really show them the way. So I'm feel very privileged to be working with you, Parchelle, and I'm excited for all the new things in the new year and beyond.
I love that, and that phrase should go on a shirt or something. That's so good. It just such a perspective. It really allows you to see the opportunity at hand and how important it is to communicate our ideas, tell our stories, because the future generation, it's so needed. Because they're embarking on a completely different world, right? Even now, I swear. So here's a funny story. I sat down with my nieces and nephews when I visit with them in Virginia, and I want to spend time with them. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll play this game with you guys. Like, you give me a controller. I'm sitting down at the TV playing, and after 10 minutes, I'm like, so like, who's winning, or like, am I losing? Are you winning? What is going on? They're like, Aunt Parchelle, this is Minecraft. It's like, oh my God, okay, like, so it's a different world, clearly, that's emerging, that is very different from the way we grew up, but nevertheless, the wisdom and the principles that we have learned still can support them in whatever the future looks like. And so I love that, that we truly are the ancestors to the future generation. That's huge. And it's not untrue. It's definitely true, but it just gives a perspective that makes it, if you feel more of a call, more of a personal duty to make sure that we're teaching. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love it because it really does bring it back. A lot of people are like, oh, who's going to care, that I'm doing this or making this video. But these are things that are actually going to last. They won't be ephemeral. They won't sort of disappear tomorrow. That through technology, we are able to continue to share those stories and lessons and hopefully continue to help many more generations to come.
Absolutely.
So. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening in today. A little bit here on Growth Mindset with my friend Parchelle Tashi. We'll be back with the next episode next week. And you can, as always, follow us on where all the cool kids hang out that do podcasts. See you guys later. Thanks everyone for joining us today for another episode of Stand Up and Stand Out. You know you can catch us where all the cool kids hang out that do podcasts on all the major platforms. And if you want to connect with Nikki directly, you can get a hold of me on my personal site, thenikkiegreen360.com. There you can check out my website, you can see any of my new books, you can learn more about this podcast, and follow us on social. Can't wait to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.